PFL and Bellator. What just happened and why? So, we spoke about this many times, guys, right? This was alleged to have been done a while ago. It was alleged to have been done, and the announcement was just coming. I've never believed those things. I don't believe anybody buried an announcement the moment the ink is dry. I believe they came right out and told us and trying to figure it out. Trying to figure out and get sense of what this means. So Don Davis went on Ariel's show yesterday, and I watched that interview, and Don looked great. He's got this great suit on. I've met Don before. He's a very charismatic guy. He's high energy, and he's very, very intelligent. He's got a history, track record of success. So I listened to his interview, and when I ask you what happened and why, when I ask you something was purchased, what was that? I'm not satisfied with any answer I've been given. And the only reason I ask the question is I'm attempting to learn something. So, how difficult would this be if you were put in that spot, right? Think of yourself. You got a business going. You got a track record, you got a plan. And your business is not making money yet, but you have a track record. You knew there was going to be some, and the trajectory is still there, right? Everything is going just as you planned. But the other way to look at it would be you're not making money within your business. So you are now going to take on another company, a like company, that is also not making money. So you had a company that wasn't making money, and now you have another company that's not making money. You put those two together. What is it that you bought? And for me, the name Bellator is meaningful. For me, when I see Bellator pop on the screen or the TV, or there's a Bellator coming up. It used to be there's a Bellator coming up, which is a new mixed martial arts program. It's not like that anymore. Just Bellator, boom, it exists. I came through Bellator. I got all these great memories. So maybe I'm personalizing a little bit, but to me, that's a brand and that's a name that's also done international business, and there's something there. But you're not going to be able to tell me when you try to be the smartest guy in the room that they bought that brand when it is known up front they're going to close and do away with that brand. And I would listen to you. I would listen to you as you tell me that Lorenzo Fertitta did an interview one time and he paid $2 million for the UFC, which had 9 contracts and an old wooden octagon, but he was purchasing those letters, UFC. Like, I can repeat that stuff too. What I'm sharing for you, how insightful that was when Lorenzo said it. He did not get to UFC and then do away with that and come out with a new name because he had the power to do it. He kept the name. He saw the power of the brand in the name, and he kept it. So I'm just bringing it to you. If we're to mix those two things together, and we know up front we're going to do away with that name, even if it's a year from now, what I'm asking you, what was bought? You don't get to say the brand. You don't get to say the name. A familiarity with the brand and the name. You don't get to do that. Okay. So what was bought? And you'll remember the story when Lorenzo talked about we got an old wooden octagon. It wasn't that, right? You got the smart cage. I mean, just for example, it wasn't something like that. It wasn't leases and offices. And one thing where people often get confused, when somebody buys a company, they so many times will think that the person that bought that is buying an idea. They like the idea. You've heard an expression before, it's $1 million idea or it's $1 billion idea, except there has never been $1 million or $1 billion given to somebody for an idea. It's not true. When a company buys a company, they're not buying an idea or a concept. They're buying contracts. What contracts? All the way from personnel on down, all the way down to the leases that you got out there, all the way down to whatever legal impending might be coming or has already come. You're buying that paper. So, in the purchase, what was bought? What was sold? And we'll say a number of times that it's the athletes. And I won't push back on you for that. the athletes could come over and they could be cherry picked and they could be cut or they could come over, but this wasn't some kind of a above market value purchase. There's a lot of liability that now came with those contracts. Those contracts all have in them that your pay and your offering of work and opportunity will be given 3 times per year. So now, if you got a network TV deal and they've only given you so much TV time and that's already purchased and done, if that's already, you only have so many fights that you can put forward. So when you start to get these contracts, which weren't at some kind of a premium to begin with, you do not have an asset. You now have a liability. So I would just come back again and I would ask you what was purchased. What happened here? And personnel is huge. Bellator's personnel is just top notch. It came out within the interview that Don Davis did with Errol that there was 21 people over at Bellator. I knew it was a smaller group. I thought it was a little larger than 21, but there we have our answer. And those are some very good people. So should we throw that in? We got the fighter contracts, which are not assets. They are liabilities, but we still got them. And we have personnel, of which Don made very clear all are welcome to come and join. But all are welcome to come and join, as nice and kind as that is not this deal is done, I'm your boss, get to work. So there again, just within the tone that was used, we can reasonably defer. Those were not viewed as assets, they were viewed as liabilities. So what was it that was bought? What got sold? You can have intellectual properties. Okay. What are you going to do with them? What are you going to do with those? How are you going to try to maximize those? Where are those going to live and where are those going to be put? Because those are for sure a very real thing. They come with a number, and now, for the first time, we are discussing a potential asset as opposed to a liability. So, I'm listening, and all I'm attempting to do is to learn. I have no other objective here. When Don went on Ariel's program, Don asked a question. And he asked and Ariel's platform is a very good place to start to hedge your bet on whatever risk you're going to do. The fight game is nothing but a bet, every time. Every contract and every deal you do, you are making a bet, and you got to go first. You got to put your money up thinking the house can win. So Ariel's program is a great place to hedge that. A promoter will go on there and float an idea. He might even come out and say it as fact, but all he's doing is putting that into the marketplace, which is you guys, and see what he gets back. I'll give you a great example. Eddie Hearn went on Ariel's program right after Francis Ngannou had fought Tyson Fury, and Eddie Hearn floated an idea of Francis versus Joshua. He was even going to take it out to Africa, and he was even going to make it a Rumble in the Jungle Part 2. Like, it was awesome. Eddie's pitch was awesome. He put all the details out there. He's never brought it up again because he heard back from you guys, and it just wasn't what he thought it was going to be. I'm just using that as an example because Don Davis went on Ariel's show yesterday, and he asked a question. It had to do with Francis Ngannou versus Deontay Wilder in a mixed rules match. How cool would that be? Question mark. That's the question. How cool would that be? Question mark. To which I'm assuming he would like an answer. And you have an MMA fighter in Francis who's now willing to box. Turns out really well. You have Deontay Wilder, who's a pure boxer, who I don't believe is willing to do MMA, but if I'm wrong, I'll happily be corrected. And what did mixed rules mean? When Don asked the question, I want to answer him. How cool would that be? I would like to answer that. What does mixed rules mean? I don't feel that it means MMA. If it was MMA, I think that would have been said. So, to answer the question, if you're going to make up a sport, it's not going to be that cool. If we're going to make up a sport, if we're going to have a conflict and we're going to have conflict resolution, we're going to work that out somehow in some form of a contest, let's do one that we all know about, and that could even be arm wrestling. They can have a bake-off. They can go high-low AC-doocy on a deck of 52 cards. Don't make something up, is my answer. That is my response. Don't make something up. One of the big problems that Francis had with Fury, one of them, though they ended up not doing it, they discussed to nauseam that they were going to adjust a rule set. They were going to make up a sport. And though that's not what got done, they discussed it nonstop. They discussed booking Alliance. They discussed booking O2, and they're going to come in, they're going to do this thing, and they're going to box, but they're going to have on 4-ounce gloves. Even though that didn't end up happening, they spent 8 months telling people that's what it was going to do. So when the fight went off, so many people thought they were going out to do up a made-up sport. And that wouldn't satisfy anybody. It wouldn't satisfy your MMA crowd or your boxing crowd or your enthusiast. It would be something that was made up. And if you do something that's make up, you take away what everybody wants to see, which is the risk. When two guys go fight, it is not about pugilism. It is not about a skill set. These are things that are advertised. We give this to the audience. It's not real. It's about one guy is going to suffer tremendous embarrassment. If you're talking about the big fight, he's going to suffer defeat. His ego is going to be hurt. His career is going to be hurt. Everything he worked for and sacrificed is going to be damaged. The answer and the dream that he had is going to be taken away. If that is not an eligible piece of your fight, an eligible consequence to the fight, you don't have a big fight. The end. Not Chael's rules. Go back over history. There has never been one of these big, massive fights that doesn't have that ingredient. And there's no way to have that ingredient if you made up the sport, if you changed the rules even one, if you didn't have sanction, if you didn't have commissions. So just to answer the question, how cool would it be to see Francis and Deontay in a sport that will be made up and used that one time and that one night? If I had a preference and I could encourage you, I would prefer to encourage you to use a sport that's already here as opposed to making one up.